Good to see a lot of you here. A lot of you are Click Pro members. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be doing a lot more. Today's a free training, and I think everybody needs this. Like everybody needs this part. And of course, those of you in the Click Pro, don't worry. We're gonna get all into how Claude Cowork is changing things. You'll see it today. What's up, Michael? What's up, Mike? What's up, Phil? Rachel, Renee, Sandra, Scott. Stacy Lynn is here. So good to see you. Cher is here. Got somebody called Coach. Love that. What's up, David? How are you, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. It's a good time to resurface when we see a big change in things. Anybody read that article called Something Big is Happening? A great article. Something Big is Happening. You can Google it. Something big is happening. I don't know. All right, guys, top of the hour. Let's jump into Claude Cowork for marketers. So I know your time is valuable. I appreciate everybody jumping in here. I will try not to waste your time. Decided to do this in two parts. I'm going to give you a link to a webinar I'm going to do on Friday. I'll get you all the recordings and stuff. If you're on my email newsletter at theclick.ai, you'll get the recording. So I'm just going to send this out to everybody. I think, my website is theclick.ai. Make sure you're on this email list and I'll make sure the recordings get pushed out through there. But I'm going to do another training on this on Friday. This is really big. I mean, what's going on? So Claude Cowork, Claude Code, OpenClaw, all these things you maybe are hearing these new models, these new systems that are out there. And there's people writing things like, that something big is happening was read by millions of people. You can find it online and read it. But something big is happening. There has been a step change literally since February. I mean, this month, right? We've seen a big change in how AI works. And I told you guys, when I see a reason to change what we're doing, we've been going hard on ChatGPT. Meanwhile, I'm keeping an eye on everything else that's going on. And this tool, Claude Cowork, I really want to dive in today and show you because it's this perfect sweet spot AI that I think is going to completely change work, right? Like we have seen technology, like we've seen intelligence and things like that all the way through this. But I think businesses have been slow to adopt this technology, honestly. Like they've been slow because it's like, well, it kind of does things, but it's just doesn't work right. Sometimes it doesn't. This is a big jump, right? And I think we have, if you're sitting here on this call, I think we have 6 months. So in the next couple of months, both OpenAI and Google will launch something like Claude Cowork. Like there will be competing models. Right now, Claude Cowork is kind of in a class of its own, but that won't last more than a couple of months. In 6 months, I think the buzz will be big, and I think we'll start to see mass adoption of this into workforces. Slow, right? I think we got a year before anybody catches up to understanding what this stuff is capable of today versus what it was when they tested it out a year ago and the little silly things that they're doing with Microsoft Copilot or even ChatGPT looks old compared to what this is able to do. So I want to point out that the skill gap here, the problem here for that we're facing, that we're up against, I guess, as a group of people that work on computers and do creative things and all this stuff. If you want to call it a problem, I think of it as an opportunity, right? That it's not it's not about whether or not you're using AI tools anymore. Everybody's using AI tools. Everybody. The difference is who is really learning how to use the tools, like who's really understanding this and really applying what's possible. When you see an AI that keeps coming back to you saying, sort of semi-useful but accurate things like to increase revenue, acquire more customers, right? It's it's like hyperbole. That's why it's a cartoon. But like this is kind of why people haven't fully seen what's going to be coming down the pike here and what is already here is that AI, when it's not used properly, those of you that have gone through a lot of my ChatGPT training, I don't want you to think that any of that time was wasted because it absolutely wasn't. You'll see how all of these skills and understanding will transfer because AI works the way AI works, right? And so understanding the fundamentals, understanding underneath it, why does it work the way it does, is going to transfer for you. But this system is just far more capable. It's just far more capable. I'm going to get into why. Today, I got one of the best Slack messages from one of my clients that said, "Hey, did you know? I didn't tell you this, but," and I don't know how she tracked this, but she said last year the marketing team saw a 26% reduction in manual tasks just with the custom GPTs that we built in OpenAI's ChatGPT. So I do team AI training and implementation. I work with companies on getting stuff like this set up. And my reply to this was, "You ain't seen nothing." Right. Because I'm meeting with her and she said, "Looking forward to our call." I'm meeting with her later about this very thing, this Claude Cowork. What's new? What's different? So let's jump into what this is and what's going on. I'm not gonna assume that you know anything that's going on. So bear with me if you're already a little bit ahead of where I am. But there is a new tool. It's called Claude Cowork. And it lives inside of your desk. It's a desktop application. It's not a cloud application. Not yet, anyway. So Claude Cowork lives in a desktop application. If you're going to install it, you're going to install it on your Mac or your PC. You may have heard that it's only available on Mac. That's not true anymore. It's also available on PC. And what happens when you open that desktop app is you get this kind of interface. Okay. And up at the top, at least right now, as the time we're recording this, the UI sets it up so that you can access regular old Claude chat, which if you've used ChatGPT or if you use Gemini, you know how a chatbot works. You talk to it, it talks back. You talk to it, it talks back. It's building things, it's creating things, it's doing things. Then on the right side, you have Claude Code. Okay, so Claude Code you can access through this desktop application as well. And I'll get into why there's this Goldilocks section where I think this is why this is going to be so disruptive. This is why this is going to change so many things, this kind of interface. Because Claude Cowork, you're looking at it, you're kind of looking at a screenshot of it. And what you're looking at is sort of a cleaner user interface sitting on top of Claude Code. So Claude Code by itself, it works in a terminal, it works in things like Cursor, it works in things like anti-gravity. I would say it's for development people, like people with a mind towards development. Most workers on this planet are not going to use Claude Code. It's too techy, right? It doesn't have a nice interface. So what Anthropic did to people that make Claude, they said, we need a middle ground between the weakness of chat. Chat has a lot of weakness. Code is too technical. Let's build something on top of Claude Code that makes it easier to use Claude Code, right? And what we're seeing is an interface that's so I've got this little graphic here that, of course, Claude built. And you think about this sweet spot. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is why this is going to be massively disruptive. Okay. So when business people, when workers like you and I and all the businesses out there on the planet are thinking about AI, whether we realize it or not, we're thinking about like how secure is this thing? Well, maybe you heard about OpenClaw, right? That it was like broke the internet over the last 2 weeks. It's a completely open source system. And my advice is don't install it because it doesn't have enough guardrails. It doesn't have enough security around it. If you're really curious and you're into development and nerdy like that, you're probably on the wrong call for one reason. For one thing, like this is not we are not developers and stuff like that. We're people that do real work for businesses. We do marketing work. We grow businesses. That's what we do here at the Click. And so OpenClaw has a problem where it has tremendous power, but the security and the simplicity are way off. So it's like over here, it's like super powerful, like crazy powerful, and has a security problem, right? Like it could do wacky things on your computer. Like people are buying standalone computers to run OpenClaw on that computer because they don't want to run it on their own machine, right? And it's quite technical, right? Then you have things like ChatGPT, which are, at least in terms of AI tools, they're quite simple to use and they have more security. Like ChatGPT is not going to go delete your hard drive or something like that. And so it's got a problem where it's over here now, right? Like where it's pretty simple to use and it's pretty secure, but it's not got the power that's available today. You take something like Claude Code, it's more secure, absolutely, than OpenClaw, but it's got a simplicity problem. Okay, so I'm bringing this up not to convince you to use Claude Cowork, but to tell you that other people are going to use it, whether you use it or not. Other people, this is going to get adopted. Like this is going to get adopted because this one's got a little bit more on the power side and a little bit more secure than OpenClaw because it hits the sweet spot right in the middle where you don't have to worry about it going rogue necessarily. I mean, it's got a lot of power, so it does. If you give it access to the wrong stuff or something like that, it can take actions on your computers. There are some risks there, but it's far more secure than something like OpenClaw, for example. It has simplicity because when you look at the interface compared to things like Claude Code and OpenClaw, it's not quite as powerful, but it's got that user interface where it works and you can kind of understand it. It doesn't look scary to people. And again, I'm telling this to you for two reasons. One is to tell you that you can do this. You can use Claude Cowork. I promise you that you'll be able to use it, especially if you follow my advice today. And two, everybody's going to start using it. If you listen to me and you listen to my advice, everybody's going to start using something like this. It may not be Claude Cowork, exactly. Maybe it'll be the OpenAI version of it. Maybe it'll be the Google version of it. But this is the new way. This is the new way to use AI. It's an interface change. It's far more agentic. It can do things. It can connect to things. Can you know? And so people are going to start using it. I'm already starting to roll it out to clients, right? And show them this and start small pilots. And so I don't know what you do for a living or what you want to do or whatever, but like every business on the planet is going to need to know how to set this up and how to use it properly to get the most out of it. It's that big. Oh, couple things. One, before I show you around on here. One is it's young and it's beta. Okay. So it is a desktop only application. Only in the last few days have you been able to put it on PC, but now that's available. It's buggy. So sometimes it just stops working or whatever. But it's not that bad. It's pretty stable. I mean, guess what is building Claude Cowork? Well, Claude Code is building Claude Cowork and it's just healing itself. It's fixing itself as it goes. The old uh, support desk solution works with Claude Cowork. When you have a problem with it, turn it off, turn it back on, unplug it, plug it back in, completely shut it down and restart it or start a new thread. And a lot of things will fix themselves when you do that. But it is got some buggy stuff going on in there. It updates every day, sometimes multiple times a day, right? So they're constantly adding new features, connections, capabilities in here. They are investing heavy engineering resources on this because this is the technology that partially crashed at least the tech stocks about 10 days ago. It started when they released a bunch of capabilities that Claude Cowork has that are real capabilities. Like these are things that people pay software companies for. They might be paying license fees of $50 a person using something that reviews contracts. And now Claude Cowork just does it automatically and does it way better than anybody could. So like, every day they're adding more and more capability to this stuff. And so it's being very disruptive. So I already talked about the sweet spot concept, but the AI sweet spot here, and the reason why I'm predicting that this is going to be the story of 2026, this type of technology, whether it's Claude Cowork or not, I do believe it'll probably be Anthropic and Claude on the business side. So learn this tool because it's the sweet spot and you can help other companies with this. You can help your own company with this. This is the new era of technology. So security, simplicity, and power, it's got all three of those things. All right. Before I get into some of the core concepts, I want to show you the thing and I want to answer Art's question and then just basically look through here, make sure. I don't look at the questions area. So if you have a question, Kip, it is better than ChatGPT. It doesn't mean you should stop using ChatGPT. It just means it's better. It just is. Like, it's way better. Like, it's not even a little bit better. It's way better. Laurent says he's been using Claude a lot. Wall Street Journal about what happens to people's data. Okay, so let's address that real quick. And I was explaining this to Angela. Some of you know Angela, if you're in the Click Pro, she's all over the Click Pro area. When I talk about security, I don't mean that you should be uploading things like people's health files and legal stuff necessarily, right? Like, all I know is that these companies built these models by stealing a whole bunch of stuff that they didn't necessarily have the legal right to steal, like all of our content basically, and took it in. So while they might say that they're not, training on your data or that they're not, that I don't believe, I don't know why we would believe that. Right. So when I say security, what I'm really talking about is that it doesn't have this open claw problem where open claw, the problem with it is it's insanely powerful and yet and that's what makes it dangerous, right? So if you don't know what you're doing with it, there's people that are, having trouble with it doing things that they didn't want it to do. Claude Cowork's not going to do that. Like, it's got guardrails around it. And so that keeps it sort of from going off the rails. Thank you, Stacy Lynn. Definitely, Fernando. Good excuse to buy a Mac Mini. I talked about this a few months ago. I said, how powerful is your computer? Like, is your computer going to be restrictive for you? It could be your justification, if you need one, to go buy a new computer, because you got to be thinking about your own compute power, just like the labs are thinking about the amount of chips they have access to and all that stuff, and how much power they have. Your computer could be a limiting factor. Okay. Krista asks a really good question. I'll address this as we go. But let's say you're set up in ChatGPT or you're set up in Gemini or something like that. It's so easy to transfer over. It's pretty easy. So I'll get into that a little bit today. Remember, I am going to be doing another training on Friday on this. That's going to be a quick start. So we're literally going to get this thing installed. I was going to do that today, and then I was like, wow, there's a lot to go through here, and I don't want to overwhelm all at once. So I think Friday, what we'll do is, and again, if you're on my newsletter, you'll get notifications about this stuff. But like on Friday, we're going to run through a quick start that will set up your Claude Cowork. It's pretty wild. I created a prompt that we start with, and it kind of builds out a little starter pack for you to get started. It looks like Art's got his hand raised, but if you want, you can drop your question if you have something in the chat, webinar chat, Art. Appreciate any questions that you have. It's helping me understand what people are thinking about. But let me drop that link in here in case you guys want to register for the Friday webinar. Obviously, there'll be emails going out about it, but I'll drop this link in. And guys, this is a good time to, I mean, it's just like totally self-serving, but I've got this membership. It's called the Click Pro, and we are going to be all over this. Like, we are going to be setting this thing up. We're going to be kicking butt with it. It's a good time to join. All right. So here we are in Cowork. I want to kind of go through the anatomy of this thing, but I'll just start by starting a new task up here just to give you a sense of this. Okay. There's a few things to point out about what's going on even already. We've got all our tasks over here, and they need to add tabs, and they will, I'm sure, add tabs along here so that you can easily switch through different things that are working. But you can start as many tasks as you want, right? You can start a task and then start another task and then go back to this one. And this is the only application on my desktop where I allow it to send me notifications, at least purposely allow it. Some of them somehow sneak through anyway. Like, you'll see my phone ring in here in a second, probably with a spam caller. You can start as many tasks as you want, which is nutso because, you could start 3, 4 things working at the same time. So that's cool. Secondly, we go over here to the prompt box. The thing that I need you to understand about Claude Cowork is that, and that's different, is structurally, it works on your hard drive. Like it works on your drive. It creates folders, it creates files, and it moves things around for you and keeps it, it almost like keeps itself organized, like keeps that itself organized. And when you're using Claude Cowork, you start by giving it access to some folder. Like you just select here and you say, okay, here's where we're working today or now in this task. So they call it mounting. So you mount a folder and then it's able to work inside of that folder on your hard drive. Now I've got it connected to a folder that's in my Google Drive, which makes it a little bit cloud based. But this tool is, it's working online, it's connecting through tools to do some things, but a lot of what happens actually happens it's happening on your drive. The folders are on the drive. Another thing I'll point out is that they have access to Opus, which is their most powerful model right now. This thing is out of control powerful. It's a little slow, but it's very, very powerful. Sonnet is sort of the Goldilocks, best for everyday tasks. But actually, Haiku is speedy and can do most of your sort of mundane, like, hey, just go list this or grab that or do this. You can use Haiku and it's like, really, really fast. So you can change models there. When you start to work inside of it, some more stuff starts to pop up over here. So um, let's look at this here. So I'm going to refer back to this a simple example where I told it, I said, list out the LinkedIn posts that we have in the queue. And I mounted it to a folder called Growth OS for Claude. So that's what we're going to be learning in the Click Pro. We're going to be setting up Growth OS for Claude Cowork. And when I mount it to this folder, when I give it access to this folder, it has access to all the files in there. It can change them. It can add to them. And it does a lot of this, especially if you keep telling it to allow it, just go ahead and make that change. Go ahead and make that change. It will start to basically create that folder as is the most ideal for whatever it is you're trying to do. Like it just kind of does things, like it just builds things for you and changes things. That's the hardest thing to get used to here is that your best bet, and I'll go into one of the core concepts here, your best bet here is to let Claude cook. So to tell it what you want, give it access to as much as you can, and that you have, so give any context you can and let it connect to the tools that it needs to do that job. So that's going to get into that today a little bit too, and then just get out of the way. Like let it cook, let it do its thing, let it change instructions, let it build files that it needs, let it decide how to get you there. And it's not that you completely step out of the loop, but you're going to see by using this tool that it will heal itself. It will fix itself. All you got to do is tell it why it messed up. Like, why did it mess up? And it's like, oh, okay. Like it'll just go and it'll edit maybe a dozen files, right? And work for 10 minutes to fix the problem. And then you go run it again and run it again. Okay. And we're going to get into this second idea, which is move slow and fix things, not move fast and break things, but move slow and fix things. So if I go back here and I look at this and I say, list out the LinkedIn posts that we have in the queue. Don't worry about what the queue is or any of that stuff. The queue is just something I built. I told it to build me a queue of LinkedIn posts and keep track of the LinkedIn posts that I want to write and create. So there's a queue somewhere inside this folder that it knows where they're. And the queue is actually in my Notion, but also not important for this example is that it's in Notion. It doesn't have to be in Notion. It could be in anywhere. Like it could be any place that you connect it to, including a file on your hard drive. So it says you have 2 LinkedIn posts scheduled and 2 draft candidates. And pay attention here, okay? Because this is a really important concept is that I don't like that Claude is listing these post ideas using this format here, like this dashed format. I don't really have enough information there to take action. In other words, Claude has failed here. Claude has failed, and I need to fix what Claude has done here. So remember that you just want to let it cook. You just want to describe what the problem is and let it fix itself. Like just get out of the way. Tell it why it messed up and then tell it to go fix it. right? And then just get out of the way, let it go fix it, and then run it again. So this is a really core concept as to what's changed is that you need to move slow and fix things in Claude Cowork because what happens is you run the task, you look at the output and you say, okay, that's perfect. Or you say, that's not perfect yet. That's not exactly what I want. Now explain it. What's the problem? And then let it go cook again, right? Let it go fix itself. Don't worry about what files need to be changed, what resources need to be created. If it needs something from you, it will tell you. It will tell you. So move slow and fix things. And here's what this looks like. Okay. So if I don't like this set of LinkedIn posts and I go back into Claude, rather than me trying to figure out what file is causing that, because there's some instruction somewhere that's telling it to output this way, right? Like somewhere, I don't care where, right? Like when I was working in ChatGPT with all my custom GPTs and all of that, I would have had to figure out where's that GPT? Where is that instruction? Why is it doing that? Like, why is it doing it that way? Here, I just explain to it, I don't like it that way. I want it this way. And if I'm able to explain it and I just tell them, go fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And then I'm going to show you a slide about why this is so new. And you almost have to experience it yourself to realize how powerful this idea and concept is. But I use a tool called Whisper, and Whisper allows me to just speak to text. It's very powerful. WISPR. I probably have an affiliate link I should have ready to give you, but I don't. So, but I do recommend Whisper. So I'm going to use Whisper here just to tell it. So you see in my ready to post section that you're giving me like some kind of hyphenated version of what is ready to post. What I need is a more descriptive version of what that post is so I can decide whether or not I want to create that post for LinkedIn. Figure out the files you need to edit and just fix that so that the next time I run this, I get a more descriptive idea of what that LinkedIn post is. So I just speak, and that's the reason I like this speak to text is because I could just kind of ramble and it'll get it, right? And when I run this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this and I'm going to actually, since we're going to go away, I'm going to use Sonnet, which is a little bit more of a thinker than Haiku is, but still pretty fast. When I'm working by myself, I'm always in Opus. It's just open, it's slower, but it's just so smart. But I use Sonnet just because I'm on a call. And it's going to start to run. So it's got access to that folder. And in that folder is instructions somewhere that tell it to give me these hyphenated ideas of what this post is, that there's some hot take around the SaaS apocalypse, that there's some post idea called Fired the Mastermind. It's got the format and the source and stuff in there, but like it doesn't give me a description. Down here, it gives me a description, which is nice. I could have told it just write it out like the way the draft candidates are written out, but check out what's happening. Okay. So it just goes off and starts doing stuff. All right. So it's going to go into my folder, it's going to figure out all the files that are affected, and it's going to heal itself. It's going to just go and fix that. And the next time I run this, it's going to get closer to being perfect workflow. And the reason this is so important is because what this looks like at scale is like this. Okay. So when you do this and you move slow and fix things as you go, you got an idea of something that you want to do. You run an attempt and then it doesn't do it right and you fix it. Right. So you tell it what you want, it goes off and fixes it. Then you run it again and you're like, no, 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 no. Make it this way. That would be completely perfect. You made it this way. And it goes and runs and it's like, still not perfect. And you keep doing that, right? Maybe you go 4 attempts or something until you get that perfect output exactly as you want it. And from then on, you'll never have to do that thing again. Like you'll never do that thing again. Now, this is both exciting and scary, right? Because what is happening to me is there are things that I used to do all the time that Claude just now does, right? It just does these things. Like it just does it. And it does it perfectly every time. And I just never, it's weird for me to think that I'll never have to do that again. Like I'll never do that task again because it just healed itself. And this was possible with custom GPTs and gems and Claude projects, but it didn't work this way. And right now it's still pretty dependent on, kind of stepping in here and there. But what I want you to see is where this is going, right? Where it already is today and where it is ultimately going is that there's so many of these tasks that are just going to go away. Like they're just gone. Like you don't have to do that. Like it would be crazy that you would have ever done that in the past. Like that you maybe moving this from here to there, or like just little things, but also big things, right? Like that it's able to just completely automate. I want you to go back and let's just see what it's done here, right? So it's gone and it's updated some files like this tracker file. It updated my Notion. Now, and so it says now when you ask the LinkedIn posts for the list of LinkedIn posts, you'll see something more like this. And I'll tell you, I still don't like this. I still don't like, I don't want that in there. So this is a great example of move slow, stop, fix it. So it does this one thing right, and then you never have to do it again and move on to another one and move on to another one. So I've been working in this system for about 2 weeks, and the amount of things. So I asked it this morning because I knew I was going to do this call. I said, "What are you?" I've been working with it for about 2 weeks. I was like, "What are you able to already do for me?" And it said, well, let me figure this out. So I do automatic story research. So it goes out there and finds stories for me. And all I got to do is tell it to do it. Like go do the newsletter research. It has 7 pre-built newsletter formats. So I fed it a couple screenshots of things that I like in newsletters. And I said, build formats for this. Like I want you to be able to create these things for me. Right. I want you to reformat it. Goes and mines webinar transcripts like this transcript that will exist from this call. And it looks for good content ideas and stuff inside my webinars from things that, in my training and things I talk about. It creates these little cheat sheets. I won't go into that. That'll be more of a complex thing. It generates LinkedIn posts. I don't have it post these things for me and I edit all of this stuff, but damn, the workflow here is just crazy. It creates visual quote cards that end up on LinkedIn. It creates so I just, what's happening is I'm slowly starting to, and because I'm moving slow and fixing things, I'm able to knock something pretty much completely out and just say, well, I'll never have to do that again. I'll never do that again. Like that's something that's now Claude's job to do. So move slow and fix things. And then the last one is audit the build. Audit the build. I'll show you that. Uh, what I like to do is whenever I build something, let's say I've been working on something for like an hour or something, and I got something set up, I'll just tell it like, hey, I want you to look at everything you just built and I want you to optimize it. You could just stop right there. Or you could say something like, I want you to look for duplicated files, dead files, broken references, any inefficiencies in the process. I want you to just spend a minute going back through everything we just built and make it as good as possible. Like remove anything that's not needed, because when you're iterating on something with it, it can create a file and then it realizes, oh, okay, like I don't need that file. I'm gonna build this file, but it doesn't delete this file, right? So I like to keep things clean. And what you do is at the end, you just say, and again, just let it cook, right? Just ask it to do what you want it to do. You want it to go and optimize that process completely. It will go and spend some energy or some compute looking at the process and saying like, see what we all set up. Here's a list of 6 ways we can make this better, faster, cleaner, so that it works better. And then you just let it implement all of that. So I'm gonna go back into here and show you. Yeah, I still don't like this. So I go back in here. And again, this is sort of this concept here. Fix, I'm on attempt 2 here, right? And it's like, I still don't like how you're delivering this to me. And so I just tell it like, no. So what I want is for you just give me the same format for the ready to post stuff. I want you to give me the same layout and format that you give me in the draft candidates. I like the unwritten ones, how you giving me that, the format, the description, the status. Just set it up so that it does it like that. So I wasn't in the Whisper's pretty cool because if you failed to select your cursor in the right there, it keeps it on the clipboard for you. So I was able to save that even though I didn't talk into that box. But it's basically like, what I want is you to give me that same format. And so it's going to go fix it again, right? And in the meantime, I'm just off doing something else, right? So you can see it's like, oh, okay, I got it. Now, I want to slow down here because what I want you to see is that it's editing this file right now. That file is right here. Okay. Now, this is a file. I didn't create this file. It created this file to keep track of this for me because I told it what I wanted. I wanted a LinkedIn queue. I want to be able to take things from my webinar transcripts and I want you to find ideas in there. I want you to take my newsletter. I want you to find ideas in there. And then I want you to create a queue where I can never, if I'm working on LinkedIn stuff, I can just ask you what's in the queue. Let's get working. And it just went and built this. Like I didn't tell it the structure of this. I didn't tell it, but all I keep doing is just telling it why it's wrong, right? Until it gets it right. And then once it gets it right, I'm done, right? Like that's a process now. So we'll get into a little bit of the real fundamentals of why this works or how this works. But first, I want to pause here and check questions. So if you've got questions, pop them in there. Let's see what it did here. You want ready to post to match the unwritten candidate. So it went and updated all of the files necessary to do that, hopefully. All right, list out what's in the LinkedIn queue again. So I just ask it to do that. Now, what I want you to see, so it's reading that tracker file. Now that file, it's here and it lives in here. And so it goes and check it. You don't need to look at this. You could just ask for it, or you could, go look at this. You can see it's pretty nicely formatted. Talk about what the LinkedIn queue is. But again, I didn't build this. I didn't prompt necessarily to build this. I didn't give it any structure that I wanted necessarily. I just told it what I want, right? I just told it how I want the outcome to look. And when it doesn't do it right, I fix it until I get it just right. Okay, so now you can see that here's the new way that this is going. And I like this is good for my workflow, right? Like when I look at this, I'm like, okay, now I can see what these LinkedIn posts are. I see a little description. I see that it's scheduled and it even tells me the date that it's scheduled. How does it know that? Because I told it, right? I said, hey, I scheduled that one that we wrote. This one, I scheduled it for February 16th or for tomorrow or something. And it goes and it updates this file. Like it updates this file, it keeps track of it for me. All right, let's check questions. I want to go back to the idea that I hope is the only thing you take away from today. Just ask it what you want it to do. Tell it what you want. What is the outcome that you want? And let it cook. Let it go build what you want. Now, if you want to wait until Friday when we go to set up the quick start, I'll have a prompt for you that will just like create a seed structure and then walk you through a little bit of onboarding to get where I think you need to be to have this structured properly. And I'll show you what that looks like. But let me check the questions. Can you use slideshow view? I'm trying to make it so you guys could see this the best as possible. The problem is I'm working in this desktop app and I keep having to pop from one to the other. But I'm going to try to help you guys be able to see this. Okay, so I'm going to table any of these questions and I'll stick around past the end of the hour to talk and just chat and field questions. But let me move on to a couple of very fundamental ideas here. When you go to this training on Friday, hopefully you guys join me. The way that I suggest that you set up your Claude folder is if you're using Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, I'm guessing Dropbox will work too, but you can set it up as a Google Drive folder. Now, the advantages are that then your folders are living in the cloud and you could go connect another computer to Claude Cowork and then pipe into that Google folder again. But you can do this on your desktop. You could do this in your documents folder. You can do it anywhere. And when you do that, you're not even working in the cloud in terms of your files and all that stuff. I suggest that you create a folder called core, a folder called workflows, and a folder called routines. And then there's this file called claude.md. And this is getting a little bit into what we're going to cover on Friday. But the quick start here for me, if I'm you, is that you need a folder at the very center of this thing. So let me open this up. You can see this folder is that folder. Okay. So I know that might be a little bit small for you guys on this giant monitor, but if you see here that the way I suggest you pipe into this thing is that you create a core folder, a workflows folder, a routines folder, and then a Claude.mt file. You can see there's a couple of other things sort of laying around in here, but you can see that these main folders, these are your big boys right here. You got a core folder, a workflows folder, and a routines folder. And this is just how I am suggesting you set this up. There are no rules here. You could totally go a different direction with how you want this thing structured, and you could change it. You can just tell Claude to change it, or maybe Claude will decide to change it for you. And then there's your Claude.md file. Let's talk quickly about this in case some of you are already using this or you want to start using it before Friday. The Claude.md file is a file that essentially you don't need to necessarily know what's in here, but what it is it's a set of instructions that Claude is always accessing. Think of it like central set of instructions. Like if you ordered some furniture from IKEA and there's a little instruction manual in there and you pick it up and you're like, okay, this is how you set this up. That's what Claude.md is. Claude.md is, again, there's no rules to it, but Claude will update it itself. Like it will keep on updating this file. It may not even tell you that it's doing it, but this file contains the central instructions as to how your folder works. How does that folder work? So it lives at the very center at the root, for those of you that are, tech savvy a little bit, it lives at the root of the folder, right? So if I connect, you can see I've got this folder connected, GOS for Claude, and you can see that this is that Claude MD file. So it tells Claude, here's how this whole folder works. And if I look, I just go a little bit into the weeds here on how this works, because I want to get to one specific thing here. Let's look at this together. You've got the core folder, you got the workflows folder, and the routines folder. Okay, so inside the core folder, what I keep inside of here is info about the business I'm working on, products and pricing, the persona, the brand design, the content rules, all of that stuff. And then inside of that, I have some folders that contain some brand voices and some brand design assets, like my headshots, my logo. And then this is kind of in a weird place right now, but I haven't really set up my website to be controlled by Claude Cowork yet. But when I do, this little reference guide as to how my CSS works and my web and all of that stuff is just kind of sitting here waiting for me to get started on that. So that's the core folder. And the reason I call it core is because there is no time that you want to be working on your business. You don't need to know what are you selling and who are you selling to. And then, those are your big boys, right? What are you selling? Who are you selling to? I always call those the optimal primes. They live inside the core folder. And what happens is Claude just figures it out. It just knows, like, hey, I need to go look at the persona right now, or I need to go look at the offer, or I need to go look at the brand design, or I need to look at, it'll figure it out. And that's why this quick start that we're going to set up on Friday, it'll walk you through the setup of that. It'll walk you through that. So if you're a little bit overwhelmed right now, just wait till Friday and I'll give you that prompt and it'll get you started right off the bat. For those of you that want a little bit more information right now, I want to go into this workflows folder. So the way I structured this, probably a little over the top, but I predict that eventually I'll be running my entire business on top of Claude Cowork or something like it. And so when I go into workflows, I imagine seeing eventually I'll have other folders in here. Right now, I just have the marketing folder, but I could see, maybe an operations folder, maybe an accounting and financials folder, et cetera, stuff like that. But let's go into marketing. And then let's think about different types of marketing I might be doing, email marketing. But let's think about content creation, which is something that we all are doing all the time. So I go inside of that. And then we start to get into various different content types. This is where I've spent most of my energy, is helping me to get organized around the content marketing, the repurposing of content and stuff like that. Emails that I can create, cheat sheets, LinkedIn posts, YouTube videos, email newsletter. I do a lot of different types of content. The most built out one that I have is inside the email newsletter. And then you get into this very, very important section. This is the part where I want to get to here, is skills. Skills are, if you've used, they're nothing more than prompts. They're just prompts. So a skill it could be anything. Be anything that you want Claude to do will get written into what's called a skill file. So you see that file right there is called skill.md. These are basically like custom GPTs And really, all custom GPTs ever were or are is just a prompt, right? It's a prompt that you can run at any time, and that the AI always has access to, and it's persistent. You can save it. These skill files are fill. I don't know how many skills I have. I could probably ask the cloud, but I won't do it. But let's just say right now I have 30 skills built in here. And the Claude will build these files for you. You don't have to build them. You don't have to, you just keep telling it what you want it to do, and it will start to build out the structure to get that done. And a lot of what it's doing is it's building these skill files. Now, the difference between a skill and a GPT, if you're really a savvy ChatGPT user, is that as long as you're mounted in a folder that has access to that skill, you can use it at any time. It's self-healing. So if I tell it, for example, when I went in here and I said, hey, I don't like how you did this, what it did is it went and changed the skill file. So let that sit for a minute. It goes and it fixes that skill. It does it for me. And then I run it again and I fix it. And I run. Now, of course, you could go in there and make edits and changes. So that file is there for you to change. Why would you do that? Just keep telling it what you want until it just gets it and nails it. Show it a screenshot of something that's perfect, or give it another example of something that's perfect, and it'll nail it, right? But it's able to update and build and delete and remove and reorganize these skill files for you so that it's in the optimal place. Does that make sense? So these skill files are really important. So go back to the slides here. All right. So when we do the quick start on Friday, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the core folder, the routines folder, and the workflows folder. And we're going to set up your Claude MD file. It's just one prompt. You run it once, and then it's going to also install something called a quick start folder, which has a skill inside of it that will walk you through the setup. So super easy. There's a skill that I'm going to give you that helps you set up your core workflows and routines. But for those of you that want to see where this can go and where I've gone with this over even just the last 2 weeks. So the real crazy power of this lies in the fact that not only does it work more agentically, not only is the intelligence of Opus 4.6 far greater than anything we had even last year. So 2 months ago, Opus 4.6 is much more capable. So not only that, not only has the UI changed quite a bit, but that we are able to connect to external things and have it take actions on our behalf, pull context in, push context, push work out. And I've been telling you guys for a while that what's going to happen is that we are going to spend less and less time working in external applications and instead working in a terminal like this, where it's like it just goes and does this, it goes and does that. So for example, if I start a task here and let's use Opus for this. So if I say, hey, go check Zoom for the next couple of meetings I have. So if I say go check Zoom, it's going to go and connect to Zoom, hopefully. Again, I told you it's buggy and we're live here. Now, this might seem like a stupid thing. Like, well, why wouldn't you just go check Zoom self, right? Like, just go open the stupid thing and look and see what meetings are in there. First of all, this is a very basic example. Like, I could just turn this on and say, hey, go set up a meeting with Angela and invite her. Topic of it is X, and it'll go into Zoom, build the meeting, invite her, put it over on my Google Calendar. And the reason that it's able to do that is because it has connectors. Okay, so down here, you look at connectors, you can see all the stuff that I've started to connect: Notion, Slack, Zapier, Canva, Gmail, Calendar. And we'll talk more about this on Friday, because where I want to get you to on Friday, so you can see it was able to go in. Oh, it pulled it from Google Calendar. You see it timed out. So this is what I mean when I say it's young and it's beta. It wasn't able to get into Zoom for some reason, but it did go check my Google Calendar. It's just smart. Like, it's just like, well, I'm not able to get into Zoom, but I'm not going to just stop. How about I go to Google Calendar? That's a good idea. I'll go check Google Calendar, and you can see that it listed this out for me. So these connectors and its intelligence and ability to know, go get this, go get that, go grab this, go grab that, just based on what you tell it you want and the output that you want, It's like, I need this, and this, and I need this connection and that connection. It just does it, right? It just goes and does it for you. Like it goes and so the more you connect to it, the more context it has, right? So what it can look like and what mine's starting to look like today is more like this, right? Where let this slide load. So you can see that, the reason these arrows have double sides to them is because we're not just pulling information in from, let's say, Google Calendar, but we're also pushing things to Google Calendar. So I'm able to say, go get the calendar information, but I'm also able to say, go put something on the calendar. And that's just the beginning of what it is. I'll just give you one example in the last few minutes we have here today, and then I'll answer any questions you have and stick around. Beehive is where I send where I send email newsletters through Beehive. I connected Claude Cowork to Beehive. And then I built a routine basically that says, hey, anytime I publish a new newsletter, go get the newsletter, put it into a folder and archive it. Take the whole contents of that newsletter, put it in a folder, archive it. Then I want you to run another skill, right? Run a second skill. So the first skill is go get the newsletter. Second skill is go and mine it for good content ideas I can use on LinkedIn or for short videos. And then thirdly, display it to me like this so we can actually get the work done, right? That's skill number 3, right? And it will figure out, does it need 3 skills or does it need 1? Does it need 2? How should I structure this routine? You just tell it what you want and let it cook. Like let it go build the thing that you want, then run it. And when it doesn't come out perfectly, you fix it, and then move slow and fix things. And you will find that you'll never have to do that again. Like now, because it'll do something like, okay, do you want me to just run this for you when you give me this? It's like, I'll just run this whole process for you. And it's done, right? Like it'll come back and it's like, here's some great ideas from your LinkedIn posts, right? And again, correcting it as you go, it will go correct the skills. It'll reorganize around what you want. So your ability to describe what you want it to do is really the limitation here. If you're able to tell it like, I want it to work this way, it'll go build that for you. One more pitch for the Click Pro. Okay. So if you go to the click.ai and you click on the Click Pro, we're going to start really implementing this. The Click Pro is $990 a year. It's a community. We work together as a group to make sure that we are not just relevant, but that we are whipping some butt in this new era. And I love all the community members. A lot of them are here and we'd love to have you in there. I mean, if you're building stuff, like if you got a business or you do marketing or you do any of this stuff and you're wanting to learn a lot more about Claude Cowork and how to install what I call Growth OS inside of it and get some stuff done, that's what we're going to be doing. We're a cool group of people. I would say we skew older. I would say the average member is over 40 years old. We're not a bunch of young whippersnappers in there. We are real professionals with a lot of experience that want to use these AI tools to build things and build businesses and grow businesses that we serve and service clients and build cool stuff. So I'd love to have you in there. It's just go to the click.ai/pro. And before I start asking questions here, that's the click.ai/pro. And I'll drop one more time the link to the webinar on Friday. I will be pushing this out via email as well. If you're on my email list, you'll get this, but that gets you signed up for the Friday where we're going to do the quick start. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you saw some of the capabilities and the power and the change, like why this is different. And hopefully see you Friday. Now I'll get into some of these questions. Okay. There's a lot of stuff in here. If you've got a question that I missed, copy it and paste it back in. Kevin asked, is there a similar use for Markdown in Claude? What I want you to see, Kevin, and everybody else, and if you don't know what Markdown is, you probably haven't spent a lot of time on my trainings and stuff like that. It's just a simple formatting language, and Claude works almost exclusively in .md files. So almost everything it builds that it can, and it makes sense, it's going to build it in MD files. And that's talking about the files that Claude uses. If it's a file you're likely to use, right now it's building everything in Microsoft Office. So I don't like that. I'm working on how can I get this so that it works better with my Google Drive stuff, so Google Docs. But right now it's outputs things that we use. It outputs those things a lot of times in docx, and that I'm sure will get better. Like we'll have better Google Docs, Google Sheets. Like it opens things in Excel and stuff like that. I really don't like those tools anymore. Like I haven't used Office Suite in a long time. But there are workarounds, and as well as I do, you can figure out a way to get that stuff into your Google Drive if that's what you use, or your Dropbox or whatever. But yes, this is all Markdown, right? This whole Claude.md file is in Markdown. But I don't need to know what the heck is in here necessarily. I don't ever go in and edit this file. I just tell the AI what I want, and it goes and edits the Markdown files. So not understanding Markdown is not going to be a limiting factor here, but it does use Markdown a lot. But yeah, my brain's exploding too, Victoria. Did you make so Jeff says, did you make a complete backup on Google Drive of all the files? No, but that would be an idea. I mean, it does. So when you tell it to do something, especially if you give it the permission inside of a folder, you say allow any changes. It goes and removes things, it deletes things. At the end of the day, though, the only thing I care about is whether or not it's outputting good work. And honestly, it's never made a mistake where I'm like, well, wait a minute, did you delete a skill file or something that you shouldn't have? Like it never has done that to me. So maybe it will. Can we attach more than one drive to the account? So for me, with 3 Google Drives and 3 different businesses, no. So the way it works, and this is something Angela and I were talking about yesterday. If I mount, so at any time, so if I start a new task, a task it oftentimes starts with no folder mounted. This time when I started a new task, it started with that, I guess, because the last task I started had that folder mounted. But you can change this folder at any time. You can choose to sort of root in to a different folder. But in terms of like being able to switch midstream, I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if I don't think you can change this folder right now. Once you start this thread, it's going to mount this folder over here, and you'd probably have to start a new task to sort of root into a new folder. Okay. You might have mentioned this before. However, are you using Opus 4.6 versus Sonnet for different tasks? Yeah. So the models that are available, and this is weird. So it's almost like since I started to work today, they changed it. So I don't have access to Sonnet, but I would say 95% of the time I just stay in Opus 4.6 because it's the thinking model. I will talk a little bit about pricing and usage. So if I look at plugin, or I'm sorry, not plugins, we'll get into plugins in a more advanced conversation. When I go into settings and look at usage, you can see that today, so I'm on the $100 a month plan. You can be on the $20 a month plan. I think you're going to get throttled if you use a lot of Opus 4.6, which is the heavy thinking model at $20 a month. I think you're going to get throttled pretty heavy, but that doesn't mean that you should pay for the $100 one. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't set this up. Set it up anyway and go on the $20 a month and just play with it, because you need to know how this works. Even if you're not going to use it all the time, you can still go use Gemini or ChatGPT. You can use Claude Chat, and you can choose to use this haiku model more often, and it's very capable of doing basic things. And then only switch into 4.6 when you need extended thinking and a lot of thinking. Because Opus 4.6, let's say you worked on it for straight in Opus 4.6, working heavily with it for, let's say, 2 hours, I bet you'd be stopped after that on the $20 a month plan. I've never hit the limit on the $100 one, but I've hit like more than half working across like 3-4 hours with it. Steve, I'm sorry if I overwhelmed. Well, here's what I would say if you feel overwhelmed is install it. Just start talking to it. Just tell it to do something, anything, and then just ask it, how do you think we should set that up? This is what I want. Just skip all the how. What you need to know is the why. Why are you doing this? Like, and if you explain that, just let it, like I said, let it cook. A lot of what I share in here is designed for you to start to realize how to do this at I would guess, a pro or a master level. at least as well as I could teach it to you, and as much of a master as I am, right? This 2 weeks old. So, but the weird thing is that this thing kind of works whether you know how it works or not. And that's why I think it's going to be mass adopted because it just kind of works whether you know how it works or not. I think there's massive advantage in knowing why it works that way, understanding underneath the hood what's happening because you'll get better results. But the best thing you could do would be to download it, put it on your desktop or laptop, and just tell it to do something. I'll tell you a really great opening task if you want one. Start a new task. Okay, I'm gonna mount to a different folder. Okay, I'm gonna mount to this one here. There's nothing in this folder right now except the quick start. And I'm gonna start by saying, I want to build a morning routine so that every morning when I get up, I can just say good morning to you and you run a routine. And the first thing I want you to do is just get me the weather for the day. Just go get the weather. My zip code is you can just put St. Louis, Missouri weather in there. And I want that to happen every time I tell you good morning. So I'm going to let the AI get me there, right? I don't need to, I want to know what I know is I want to know the weather in the morning. Like I want this thing this is a very basic task, but it's a good demonstration of how Claude works. And you're not going to break anything doing this, right? You're just getting started playing. And so it's going to figure out how to write skills, what connections it needs, what tools it needs to call, all of that stuff for you. Like it's going to get you the outcome so that now when you say to Claude, good morning, it's going to come back and say, hey, good morning, and give you the weather. And to do that, it's going to write a skill. It's going to do something, but you don't need to know that, right? You don't need to know how that works. So now if I do type good morning and I'm in this, I have to be working in that folder, right? I have to be working in that folder for it to see the skill. But if I work in that folder and I say good morning, it's going to give me the weather. Now, what could I do after that? I could say something like, I also want you, after you give me the weather, I want you to go check my to-do list and tell me what I have to do today to stay on track. If you don't have a to-do list, go ahead and build that too. So I probably didn't even need to tell it to build me a to-do list. It would have done it on its own. But now I'm starting to build out something where I say good morning and it gives me the weather. And then it goes and grabs my to-do list and it lists things out. You can see that it's now created this file called tasks.md and it's built this little bit out, but it doesn't know any of my tasks yet, right? Because I haven't created any tasks. But once I do, like once I start to work on something, like now I might say, now and what I want you to do is just like blow this out a little bit, blow this out to where you're connected to things. I know this is overwhelming, right? Like when I show you something like this. But again, it just kind of works without you knowing, right? Like if it knew you had a Zoom webinar, it might start to put on your to-do list like make sure you prepare that deck. It might go into your Slack, for example, and say, "Hey, Angela needs you to review this file." And I could say to it, "Hey, go grab the file and pull it in here." And I could use the AI to edit it. I could edit it with my fingers and my brain. And then I could say, push that back over to Angela in Slack or through email. And I might say, I don't know what the heck she wants from me here. And I need a meeting. Go set up a meeting with Angela tomorrow, 11 o'clock to review this document. And just go do that. So, but start with something simple. Build yourself a little morning routine and just tell it what you want it to do. Hopefully that helps. Okay, let's check. Do you ever think it can read my emails, write the replies based on what my sent folders show are my common replies, and I never have to email ever again? You can do that. Yeah, and I do. I mean, like I said, I've got Gmail right now. I can tell it to email anybody. I can have it go check my email. I can have it pull those emails in. I can have it reply to those things. I could build skills that start to figure out how I like to reply to stuff. I don't think you're ever going to get to where you never need to check your email again. But yeah, I mean, it's got that connection. And if you have certain things that you're always replying similarly, like you could build skills around that. She said, woohoo. Couple things I'll point out for anybody that's still here. I don't know. Looks like we got a pretty good group still. Browser use. This is crazy town. Okay. Now we saw this more than a year ago, maybe more than 18 months ago when ChatGPT operator came out. And what this is, you can see right there on my screen, it says Claude MCP right there. What that means is that Claude has access to my browser. And so browser use, I've been telling people for a long time, this is the technology to watch. When it is able to use my browser, watch out because like it can do it. If it's able to click around, log into things, like open things, edit things in my browser, that is super powerful. So yesterday, I had a promotional email for this webinar. Okay, so this is the workflow I used. So I went in to Claude Cowork. Let's just kind of play around with this here. So I go into Claude Cowork, start a new task, and I'm gonna kind of run through this with you guys in terms of like how this might work. So I'm gonna say, remember I said there's another webinar on Friday. So I'm gonna say, oh wait, let me get into my let me root into my folder here. This is my actual folder. So go check Zoom and find that webinar that we have going on this Friday. Pull in the description and then let's write the promo email for that so that that's ready to rock and roll because I need to send a promo email about that Friday webinar. So use the description and use any other skills you have to get that email created. So now it's going to go, hopefully, and I think it was having trouble connecting to Zoom earlier, but we'll see if again, it's buggy, it's young. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go look in Zoom, find a meeting. You can see it's doing that. Find a meeting. It's reading a skill right now. It's looking at my persona. It's looking at the rules around my content. Now you might think, well, I don't have any of those files. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Like let it cook. Like if it needs that, and again, that quick start on Friday to make sure you have these basic files. But okay, so it came back empty for webinar. Did I not build that as a web? I did build that as a web. And you can see it's goofing up. But let's yeah, it's not a meeting, Claude. But we good. I wanted to do, and if it was working right, I would go grab the description and then write the email, right? For me. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is that yesterday I did this exact same workflow. Then I edited the email the way I wanted it, saved it. It saves inside of Claude, right? So it's saving inside my folder. And then I said, hey, move this email over into Beehive for me. Triggered the tool that controls my browser. You can see that it went into Beehive and it started to use my Beehive. So it's like, oh, I see your posts. So I'm going to click on that, open the posts, started a new post, which is what an email is called in Beehive. Uh, put the content of the email in there and it got it all the way to the end to where it was like, that's done. Like I moved your email from Claude over into Beehive. If I could get it so that it always does that, I'll never have to move another email from a Google Doc or any place I'm working on that email over into my Beehive ever again. It just does it for me now. Like it just moves it over. Now I will tell you, it's still clunky and slow. The browser use, it makes mistakes, but it did end up getting it done and it got it done the right way. It put the subject line in there, put the pre-heading in there. And then here's the important part. It took it about 20 minutes to move that email from Claude into Beehive and get all the way through the screens necessarily to say it's ready for you to review. And then at the end, I said, now I want you to look at everything that you did and write a skill. Create a skill so that you always know how to do that. Now, that's not going to fix the fact that the browser use is a little bit clunky, but the skill will speed it up. So it knows exactly what steps it's got to take. And I didn't go write it out and do anything. I just said, hey, you finally figured it out. Congratulations. Now go write a skill that does that every time that way. Does that make sense? It may be because I'm using Zoom, Mike. That's a good point. Yes, Kevin. So Kevin says some of these ideas and possibilities begin to change the human in the loop concept. I agree with this. The human in the loop concept is that we have to be involved. I would say, I mean, one of my core concepts here is let it cook, get out of the way, tell it what you want, let it cook, let it figure out how to do it and step back in. You need to know why you're doing stuff, but it'll figure out how that's going to get done. It'll start to say things like, you need to connect to this, you need to connect to that. And you can make those decisions, whether you want to connect to your Google Calendar, for example. It's up to you. Do you want it to be able to do that or not? And a lot of people will say, yes, I do. I want it to be able to build things. I want it to know my calendar. I want it to know all these types of things. Ask it to analyze. So Laurent says, that's how I tend to use these tools. Do it and then ask it to analyze and write the skill. Yes. So get it right. And then when you got it right the first time manually, then say, go create a skill. I want to be able to do that every single time. And the way these skills get called, you would think, okay, well, I got to be able to know what the name of the skill is and all that stuff. It just figures it out. Like if I say, go do X, it figures out which skill it's going to need to do that. Right. And if it doesn't know, it'll ask, like, what are you trying to do here? I'm not sure what you're trying to do. Okay. Anybody, do you have a Google document folder for today's event like you have had in the past? I did, Kim, but I'm gonna hold off to give you access to that document till Friday, where I'll do part 2 of this because there's a prompt in there that I felt like it's too much for one meeting. If you want to play with this today, here's your, sort of quick start. We'll do a real quick start on Friday. But get it set up, get yourself set up where you got the desktop version of Claude Cowork installed and just play around with it a little bit, right? We're going to start a new folder. It won't hurt anything for you to play around with it. Create one folder on your computer and let it have access to that one folder. Don't give it access to your documents folder or your desktop or your, big broad things. Just build one folder somewhere in your documents on your desktop anywhere. You could do it in your Google Drive and call it Claude or something and give it mount that folder and then just start working in there. Just tell it something you want to do and just kind of play around with it and go slow and fix some things, but also kind of keep an eye on what it's doing. Like read what it's doing because you're going to learn a lot about how it works by just watching the things that it says. Like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm building this, I'm building that. It'll ask you questions. It'll work through that kind of stuff with you. That would be a super quick start. Build a folder so that it doesn't have access to your whole computer. Build one folder, give it access to that one folder, and just start talking to it. Maybe build a morning routine in there would be a good way to start. Build a morning routine, tell it you want the weather, tell it you want it to read something, to give you a inspirational quote, tell it to give you the news, tell it whatever you want. What would you love that for Claude to do when you tell it good morning? Try to build something like that. Build a little morning routine. All right, guys. I hope you got a lot out of this, and we'll see you Friday, I hope. And anybody in the Click Pro, I'll see you. We're actually doing a free training tomorrow on deep research. And then on Thursday, we have office hours for Click Pro. And then Friday, I'm doing this training on the quick start. So a lot going on. Pretty excited. See you then. Bye bye, everybody. Bye. Thanks, everybody.